What's up, guys? This is Derek with Team Evolution Rush of Ikorr, and today I'm coming to you with a new deck profile on Ryujin. So this is a deck profile I've been kind of teasing for the last few days, and just wanted to finally get this one out there. This is an avatar that I've been looking at for a while and have been a little just kind of afraid to build it because it has two very powerful colors attached to it with some really wild abilities attached to the avatar. So I wasn't sure exactly how it was going to turn out. Turns out it is just as good as I thought it was. Now, I've only gotten a little bit of testing in with this. I haven't gotten too much testing in with it, but I do feel like just the overall essence of what it can do, it can grind really well, obviously take advantage of Shibolba and Pyramid, and just do a lot of really cool things between blue and black. So yeah, we're gonna go through this one. One of the biggest things with this deck is it is a kind of meant to be a location deck, kind of meant to be a showcase on Shibolba, and just some of the big reanimate things that we can do. But yeah, we'll just kind of get right into it. So Ryujin is the Japanese blue and black avatar that says pay 2, shuffle a card from your hand in your deck, then draw 2 cards, which is a very powerful ability. So at any point in time, you can just put a card that you don't really need back into your deck and then draw 2 cards, which is just very, very good. Kind of hand fixes, but just paying 2 to like technically draw 2 cards is really insane. Yeah, you're putting 1 back, but you're getting 2 new cards potentially, which is just huge. So yeah, it's a very, very good avatar ability. And then its rush ability is each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their deck and then draws 5 cards. That ability is also really crazy because it can be graveyard disruption on the opponent depending on what deck you're playing. Or if your opponent just has like, I don't know, 10 cards in their hand, or just like this massive hand that you just like, you know they're just gonna have answers for days. If you time this correctly, you can really kind of disrupt what the opponent's doing. On the flip side of that, depending on what point of the game you use that ability, depending on what your opponent draws, it could also kind of backfire. But either way, a really good disruption ability for the graveyard and can just kind of like really grind. Overall, just a really powerful avatar in terms of what it has attached to it. So, like I mentioned, this particular version is going to be kind of focused around Shibolba, mostly because I haven't really shown this card off too much. I have shown it off in the Snake deck, but it wasn't really as good. Not as good. It just like the Snake deck is weird because Snake, you have Pythia and you have all these other things that you're trying to do, so you don't really have to rely solely on Shibolba, even though it's a huge boost for that deck as well. Well, it's a huge boost for any fear-based deck, any black deck. But what it does is that whenever champion is summoned from anywhere other than a player's hand, store 1 Ikorr on this location, and then action secure 1 Ikorr from this location. So much like Pyramid, which we have right here, the condition is just that when something is summoned from, say, like the graveyard or even from the void, right? Or from the deck. There is 1 card in the game that summons something from the deck, so in that particular situation, it would work. But just also, like, anytime you summon from the graveyard, Reanimates will trigger this. So if this is on the board and something with Reanimate dies and then comes back, it will put a counter on this, or an Ikorr on this. Or also Ritual Practitioner, which allows you to summon things from the void, would also trigger this. So it's just another form of Pyramid, just in a different way. But yeah, I think Pyramid's better because it's so much easier to get Ikorr on Pyramid by just having things leave the field and being destroyed. Obviously, Shibolba relies solely on summoning from the graveyard and stuff like that. So in this particular deck, we have access to both, which is why we're still playing 1 copy of Pyramid, kind of as a fallback. But I do think that as a whole, Shibolba is kind of a little harder to get off, and you're not going to get as many counters on it as you would Pyramid. But it's just an alternate win condition that you can still like get bonuses every time you're just for playing the game, just for playing Reanimates and bringing things back from the graveyard. Obviously, we're not really doing that in this deck. We're kind of taking advantage of Void Practitioner a little bit more, but it's still really good. So definitely one of my favorite cards from set 2, and it's kind of what this deck is around. So getting into it, we have 2 Toad Wahis with Favorite of Isis. So what this is going to do is, of course, with Pyramid and with Shibolba, we're going to be triggering those locations, right, with Reanimate, which is really good. So you play this while you have an Ikorr on one of the locations, you gain that Ikorr, it dies and comes back, guess what? You gain an Ikorr. And then the cool thing with Shibolba is the way the timing works. So if you have Shibolba on the field, and then you have this on the board, and then it dies, and it comes back on Reanimate, you can put the counter from it coming back on Shibolba and then trigger the favorite of Isis to gain that Ikorr immediately. I keep saying counter, but that Ikorr immediately. So yeah, Toad with this is really good just because it's a easy way to just continuously gain Ikorr throughout the game off your locations and trigger it multiple times. And because we can summon it from the void off a Ritual Practitioner, that's also like massive. So very good card. Then we have the Macaw Owl, the 1/1/1 with Reanimate that just kind of stays alive forever because you can always bring it back. We have Hermes Lyre and Tressus of Nephthys on these. Just two very powerful infusions that you can kind of take advantage of over and over and over and over. And it's cheap, so yeah, very, very good. Don't really have to explain those too much. Skull Owl, we attach Foresight to this just because when it comes back off Reanimate, you can look at the top card of your deck, decide if you want to draw it or not, or you can look at your opponents, it doesn't matter. But this also deals 1 damage on death, which is really good. So very strong cards there. Then we have the Shooting Owl. This has Swift and Reanimate. We put no Pesh on this. So you could do a bunch of things with this as a 2-pip, but we put no Pesh on this, so it gives +2 attack. So it's essentially a 2/4/1 with Swift, which is very powerful. So it just gives us a good way to remove early board threats, or just in the mid game even take out bigger threats and trigger that Reanimate so it can happen right away. We have two Deer Wahis with Hamayumi, kind of a staple with decks like this. Deals 1 damage to up to 1 target. If it's a demon, destroyed instead. It's a 2/3/2 that has Reanimate with the deal 1 damage from Hamayumi. It's just going to put in a lot of damage. You know, it's going to do 5 damage usually at least in some capacity, or it's just going to eat up your opponent's cards by having to get rid of it. It's just a good 2-drop card with a good infusion that just is kind of frustrating to deal with and get rid of. And yeah, always a high impact card for black decks. I'm not playing Jaguar Wahi. That's one of the cards I just still don't really like too much. And I think in this deck, like, it could be okay. If you want to play Jaguar Wahi just to have more Reanimates, you can. But I'm playing other stuff in this deck that I'll kind of just talk about. Vulture Wahi. So this we have Curse of the Kami, which makes it cost 1 less, but to stun it, which doesn't matter at all. So this is a 4/4/4 that rage for 2, which is really good because this card's actually very powerful. Summon it, destroy a champion in your hand. If you have no champions in your hand, reveal your hand, then target a champion in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So that second effect is very powerful. You probably won't get it off very much. But the first effect's strong because if you destroy a champion with Reanimate in your hand, it will trigger that Reanimate to come back at the end of the turn because it still got destroyed. So if you didn't know that, now you do. So just a good way to get additional summons and trigger the Reanimates of cards in your hand. And if it sticks around, it's a good body. 1 Camisats, so this is just like a really powerful Reanimate. So it's a 7/5/4 that raids for 4 with Reanimate. On summon, destroy another allied champion with the highest attack. And if you do, destroy an opposing champion with the highest attack. So again, sometimes like with Vulture, you could like destroy this in your hand with Vulture. And then at the end of the turn, this comes back, which would blow up the Vulture. Then you blow something up. And then at the end of that turn, Vulture comes back again, at which point you can destroy another card in your hand, and so on and so forth. But it's just a good card. Now, I am playing Yum Simmel in this deck. If you don't have Yum Simmel, because I know it is a hard ultra rare to get a hold of from set 1, you can just play 2 of these, just because like it's good for what it does. It's going to give you removal. It's got a lot of raid attached to it, and it's a Reanimate. So I'm only playing 1 because I have Yum Simmel, but if you have Yum Simmel, you could definitely play 2 copies of this. Or if you don't have Yum Simmel, you can play 2 copies. Now for the non-Reanimates, we have 2 Fierce Alexes. These are just 1/1/1s with Swift. So we have Kusanagi to stun and draw a card, and then Ruler's Decree. Pretty much everything in the deck's a Maya, so this allows us to just give all our other Mayas +1 raid. So moments that you can try and scoop the game there. Then we have 2 Industrious Farmers. These are just 2 Mayas that we're using to reuse their infusions, which one of them we have Eye of Ra and Poseidon's Trident for the other. So location removal I think is important in this game right now. A lot of the really better decks play locations in the form of either Delphi, Pyramid, or Shibolba, so they're just, you know, I think having any card that has Trident in the deck is just necessary. Now, Eye of Ra is an ultra rare infusion from set 1, so if you don't have one, I get it, I totally understand. If you do, slot one in. If you don't, just find whatever infusion you like that works for you. That, you know, just has a good ability or just something that you want to play. That's the nice thing about infusions is they're just super flexible. Then we have 2 Accomplished Architect. with Blessing of Izanagi, so this makes it cost 1 less if we have 1 or fewer champions. The sole purpose of this is kind of what we use it in Sasano, is to just try and play it on the first or second turn of the game, so we can search for either Pyramid or Shibolba and get it online as fast as possible. So it just gives it a little bit of consistency. Okay, and then now quickly becoming probably one of our most hated cards is Shaw. So Shaw is a 2/2/2 that says summon, you may return target non-Egyptian champion from your graveyard to your hand. We've talked a lot about this card in all of our blue decks at this point. It's just really annoying and insane with Shroud of Yomi to just infinitely recycle your non-Egyptians. It's very unfair. It kind of just allows you to have like a second hand from your graveyard, because all your non-Egyptians that are in your graveyard you can just reuse over and over and over and over and over, which is stupid. So we are definitely playing at least the 1 copy with Shroud of Yomi. I took it a step further and I played a 2nd copy with Reanimate because I have Reanimate. If you don't have Enduring Spirit, again, I totally understand. It's a very, very, very hard infusion to come by. So if you don't have it, then you can either just not play the extra Shaw, or you can play the extra Shaw with something different. I don't know. But the reason I decided to go the extra step and play Reanimate here is because if this is ever reanimated, or sorry, if this is ever in the void, and then I play Ritual Practitioner and I sack it, and I summon this off of Practitioner, then I can just use its ability to add the Practitioner back, and it creates this little like loop just over and over and over. So this card, while we don't have a ton of Mayas that are always going to really be in the graveyard, the ones that are there are pretty good. So that's just why we're using 2 of them. But you don't really need to play 2. You could play 1 and it'd be perfectly fine. Again, I just kind of took it a step further. If you don't have this or don't want to do this, just find, play the Jaguars, or just, find something else. But if you have Enduring Spirits, obviously in a deck that thrives off reanimation, this is a pretty powerful card to reanimate, because it's always going to add something back. Technically it's a 2-for-1, because you play it the first time, get something back, it dies, comes back, then you get another card. And then if you bring it back off Practitioner, you can just keep doing that. So this just kind of takes it up a step further on its own, basically. And then the Ritual Practitioner, which is definitely like the MVP of the deck. We have Ahua's Headdress on this because I didn't really know what else to put on it. Pay X, sacrifices champion, summon any number of target champions from the void with a combined influence cost of X. So this card's nuts. This card, obviously, your little reanimates just as the game goes on. You're going to end up with a bunch of them in the void. So you get this out, you sack it, you pay whatever you want, get a bunch of champions back, which Shibolba will actually count every single champion summoned off this. So if you summon 4 champions off this, Shibolba's going to get 4 Ikorr, which is pretty good. But you're just using this to recycle all these little cards and just kind of, and then of course it's better because it resets the reanimates. So once your opponent deals with them, they have to deal with them again. And yeah, it's pretty disgusting. So, but we only play 1 because this card is not a card that you really want to see in the early game. It's a card that you want to see kind of in the mid to late game. So we just have the 1. And obviously with Ryujin's power to just like always recycle and draw a card, like getting to this card's not that difficult, even though we only play 1. If you want to play 2, just because you want to see it more, or maybe even if you get it in the grave early and then get that Shaw early, and you'll get it back to your hand, whatever. But I'm fine with just the 1. We have the 2 Wahi Watchers. Champion has +2 health. I love Mystic Ankh on cards like this, but you can do what you want. This is a 3/1/4 that rage for 2, and on Secure, you may target a champion in the void and add to your hand. So obviously we're playing this card to just get back really good cards that are sitting in our void, so we can just use them over and over and over. This is usually an auto have to kill card, but of course the +2 health, giving it 6 health makes it pretty difficult. 2 Swift Messengers, just a staple card. We have Tepanazotl, that when you draw a card with a card effect, it refreshes 1. And then, of course, Scroll of Curses, which is just another staple combination of mine. Again, if you don't have Scroll of Curses, because it is an ultra rare from set 1, you can... I mean, Swift Messenger is an open slate. Like, you can literally do whatever you want. You can put whatever you want on this card, and the card is still going to be good, because no matter what, it's drawing you 2 cards, and it's going to probably kill something with Swift. So, you can do whatever the heck you want. I just like Scroll of Curses. You could play the one that gives it Quick Strike. You could put Poseidon's Trident on it. I mean, you can literally do whatever you want with Swift Messenger. And then the couple fables I have are Hapset Soot, just because it triggers our locations in additional time. And of course, the big bad Yum Simmel, which again, if you do not have a Yum Simmel, you can do whatever you want. I mean, there's so many other cards that you can play with in blue or black. Like Charybdis is a good body, Thusa is a good body. You can play the second Camisats. There's a lot of cards that you can play outside of Yum Simmel. So, or you can play the Oni or the Yamada if you just want a big champion to stun things and, give you another turn, just be a big threat. You could do that too, right? So yeah, doesn't really matter. You can do whatever you want. And then the spells, Cultivating Theorist, Pot of Duality, basically, from Yu-Gi-Oh terms, just some consistency. 2 Bearing a Flame, insane card in this deck. A 2 cost, just blow up your Reanimates to deal 5 damage to things or more is just so good. This is one of the best cards from set 2, I think. We play 1 Tsunami just because it's more location hate, and outside of Poseidon, this is just really good against every location. And then on top of that, like the locations that cost more than 3 can still go away with this, right? So if you're playing against a Calabash or a Chichen Itza or something like that, like this is just a really good card to deal with those higher cost locations. 1 Tsukiyomi's Twilight, again, if you don't have this card, don't fret. It's a staple. I mean, if you got it, play it, but if you don't, no big deal. You know, just play another copy of whatever you want. We have 2 Overindulgence, which is probably one of the best removals in the game. And then I play just 1 copy of Poseidon's Wrath. Though I probably should play 2. I think I definitely need to bump this back up to 2. I was only playing 1 because I felt like I had enough removal with like Yum Simmel and things like that. But like if you don't have Twilight, you could play 2 Wrath. Shoot, honestly, I'm contemplating just finding a way to play a second Wrath anyways. But yeah, again, it's kind of open on what you want to do. But that's it. That's the deck. Ryujin is a very fun deck to play. I definitely enjoyed the games that I played with it. I think it can be very powerful. Blue, of course, has very strong removal, as does black. Shibulba is very powerful. The Reanimates are very frustrating and sticky. So it is a fun deck. It's a really good deck to play. And if you like this avatar, you know, hopefully this kind of helps with some direction there. So I got some more coming, more deck profiles, like I had mentioned, as well as a pretty long video where I am doing a kind of like review and discussion on all the new set 3 cards that got announced. And yeah, so keep watch for that. Team Lumshin out.